When you look at your life and you compare it with the vision of what you thought it would be at this age, are you happy with where you are right now? Are you living in the house you dreamed of, driving the car that you dreamed of? Are you waking up to the man or the woman of your dreams? What would your life look like right now if you had set your intentions and committed to bring that vision to pass? Would your life be completely different from what it is right now? I venture to say yes. Because those who have intentions to do something understand that there is only a plan A and that having a plan B is never an option. An intention moves the options to retreat, to turn back, to entertain alternative options. In this teaching, I'm going to introduce you to the concept of boat burning. Burning the boat gives you a distinct understanding that you are at a point of no return and that you are at the place of living on the edge of possibilities. And the only thing that you need to do to push past that point is to push past the feeling of giving up on your dreams. You cannot go back in your past to have a new beginning, but you can start now to have a new ending just by being intentional. Hey there. I'm so happy that you're joining us for our series on intent. And if this is the first message that you're listening to, let me suggest that you go all the way back to our first installment. It's going to be worth building your understanding and comprehension of what intentions is all about and why this message is so relevant and apropos for the climate that we're living in. Genesis 8:21, the Lord smelled a sweet savor, and the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake. For the imaginations of man's heart is evil from its youth. Neither will I again smite any more everything living as I have done. Back up to the first portion of this particular text. The Lord smelled a sweet savor, and the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground anymore for man's sake. In other words, this is what he intended to do, and he's kept his end of the bargain. So when it comes to intentions actually comes from your mind. It's a personal covenant that you make with yourself about something you're going to do or not do, something you're going to accomplish, some goal that you're going to achieve. It all has to do with this personal covenant or promise that you're making to yourself. And so to compromise this covenant is to compromise your integrity. So when we think about intentions and then we link it to integrity and this promise that you're making to yourself, every time you make a promise, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and you never do it, you bring your integrity into question. So show me a man's life and I will show you his truest intentions, thus the level of his integrity. Intentions, therefore, is this private internal dialogue or conversation that you have with yourself about something that you're going to do or something you're going to become or something that you're going to be. So if you show me a man's financial status, I will show you what he has been privately thinking about. Show me a man's relationships, and I'll show you what he has privately been thinking about himself, thinking about other individuals. And this really flows with something that Solomon said in Proverbs 23:7, for as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. So we can conclude this: intentions are private promises that you make to yourself that impacts your destiny. So where you end up in life is about the intentions that you make and keep. And going back to an original conversation or a part of this dialogue that we're having right now, especially if your intentions are attached to your goals or your dreams or your vision, if you keep, negotiating with yourself and letting yourself off without holding yourself accountable, then 9 times out of 10, a year will go by, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and then you end up living with regret. I wish I had done so and so. And I think that's why mentors and coaches are important, because they're able to hold you accountable to manifesting the highest level of your potential, for maximizing your potential as it relates to your vision and your dreams and your goals. And so many people do perform specific acts, but very few perform it at the level of their potential. And so this is why intentions are important. There's a very, very important statement that I want to make, that intentions don't have a plan B. Intentions only have a plan A. And we can look at Jesus as an example. In Hebrews 12:2-3, it says, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despised the shame, and sat down at the right hand of, or the right hand of the throne of God. For consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest you be wearied and faint in your mind. So many people are giving up and they're fainting in their mind because they have these goals and it seems as if it's taking a long time. And the scripture says, well, think about Jesus. And in our, a previous text, I said, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. What was his mindset like? Whatever he intended to do, he did it. It was his intentions to sit at the right hand of the throne of God. That was his intention. And so he set his intentions accordingly, and not even a cross could stop him. So he was looking beyond the cross, and intentions gives you eyes to see the prize and not stop at the obstacle. And I'm decreeing and declaring in this season, you won't let any obstacle stop you. You will not have a plan B. You will only have a plan A. This is what I'm going to do, and you're going to do it. Intentions know that no is never final and all things are negotiable. I want to tell you a story. It's a story of a man named Edwin C Barnes. I know we've all heard of Thomas Edison. My question is, have you ever heard of Edwin C Barnes? I've asked people over and over that question. Most people say, no, I've never heard of Edwin C Barnes. But in Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, he tells this story of a man named Edwin C Barnes who made up his mind that he was going to go into business working with Thomas Edison, whether Edison liked it or not. So that's where he set his intention. Remember, intentions say no is never final and all things are negotiable. So despite having no money, no education, no relationship with Edison, nobody who he knew that knew Edison, Barnes just hopped on this freight train and he managed to get an audience with the famous inventor. Hill goes on to recount the first meeting. Mr. Edison said, he stood there before me looking like an ordinary tramp, but there was something in the expression of his face which conveyed the impression that he was determined to get what he came after. I had learned from years of experience with man that when a man really desires a thing so deeply that he is willing to stake his entire future on a single turn of the wheel in order to get it, he is sure to win. Barnes had no money to begin with. He had but little education. He had no influence. Nobody knew him. He didn't know anybody. But he did have initiative. He did have faith, and he did have the will to win. With these intangible forces, he made himself the number one man with the greatest inventor who ever lived. And what was that force? It said, what was that force? With this intangible force, what was that force? I believe the force was intention. You could feel it. You could sense it. You know when someone has intention. And I can share with you, many, many stories, but I'm going to ask you a question so I can really drive this in. Have you ever invited a person to do something and they said, oh, I'll try? They're really telling you that they have no intention of doing it, but they just don't have the integrity to say no to you. But a person that says, I'm going to be there, I'm going to do it. You could feel it. You have this sense, okay, that person really is going to do it. So it's noted as I was telling this story that Barnes actually, with his intention, convinced Thomas Edison that he should work with him. But let's talk about how long it took. It took 5 years of him going back over and over of nonstop effort, hustling, and with tenacity to get his chance to finally work side by side with Edison. And so it is with your and my life. There are so many people in life that are so close to realizing their ultimate life goals and their dreams, but they give up too soon because it doesn't seem like it's forthcoming, and they take no as the final answer. There is no plan B when it comes to intention, and no is never final, and all things are negotiable. He intended it to, and he changed a powerful man's mind about him working with him. It's almost like many of us are so close to our dreams and then we give up. We say, well, if this doesn't work, I'm going to do this. If that doesn't work, I'm going to do that. And a lot of us are like the children of Israel that ended up wandering around the vicinity of success, but they never entered into the proverbial promised land. Intentions allows you to enter into the promised land. The children of Israel wanders around 40 years. Half of them died, those that were over 20, never seeing the promise of God because they had a plan B. But you have Joshua, who enters into the promised land with those that were under 20. Let me talk to you, those that are under 20. Those of you that are a part of the Z generation, let me talk to you for a moment. When it comes to your relationship with God and the promises of God, the promises that he has made to you are non-negotiable. But he is actually going to bring those promises to pass. Sometimes it may seem like they're delayed, but if you wait long enough, they that wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as an eagle. Sometimes we have to wait for the manifestation of a promise because of our own maturity. And God is not going to waste a promise or waste a gift on the immature. And so everything that's happening to you that seems as if it's contrary to the will of God, I want you to keep those promises, your vision, your dream in your mind. And eventually it will come to pass. I remember someone prophesying to me. I was in my 20s. They prophesied to me, and it took until I was 50 years old, 30 years from the day that it was prophesied before that prophetic word came to pass. And when I was 20, if someone would have said to me, oh, it's going to take 30 years, I really would have pursued a different course in terms of my career path. But just sticking to the plan of God for my life, when it exploded, all of a sudden it seemed like 30 years wasn't that far in the distance, but I had lived every day of it. So when I talk to the millennials, when I talk to the Z generation, those that are younger than me, I talk to them about being persistent, never becoming discouraged, telling them and encouraging them that no is never final, all things are negotiable. And I think that when I look at the story about Barnes, when he said, I will work there, I'm going to work with him. That's what he said. He said, I'm going to work with Edison. And it's interesting, the choice of words. He didn't say I'm working for Edison. He said I'm working with Edison. And what he didn't say, if he turns me down, then I'll get another job. He didn't say I'm going to be there for a few months, and if I get discouraged, then I'll get another job somewhere else. He just kept at it for 5 straight years, hearing no for 5 straight years. And after the 5th year, he got a yes. And this is the power of intention. You keep your mind on the prize and you're not looking out for another opportunity. And I think that this is where most people undermine the potential of their success. There's no but. And we call that burning the boat. I want to tell you another story. But before I get to this story, When we talk about intentionality causes tenacity to arrive. You become tenacious. You never give up. And tenacity is the stuff that makes great stories. When you read these great stories of success and great stories of invention and great stories of people who defy the odds. And I have so many books on biographies from the presidents of the world and inventions and great speakers. And I read these books and I'm always fascinated that in as much as we look at these individuals as heroes and history makers, what they had to endure is amazing in order for them to become a history maker. It takes a lot of perseverance and a lot of tenacity. And you should never, ever give up on your dreams. I know, from my own personal experiences, there were many moments where my life hit this inflection point and I did have options, but I stayed the course. And I said, okay, there's no plan B. There's only plan A. And this has got to work. And guess what? I ended up making it work. So legend would have it that this Spanish conquistador, Cortez, issued this rather interesting order to his men, and that was burn the boats. I can imagine if I was a part of that whole army of people, I first would have questioned it, but I think it was Cortez's conviction that caused his men to really rally around the whole idea. Hey, we're going to, conquer the Aztecs, and then we're going to end up with all of this wealth. And it's interesting because the soldiers or the warriors or the opponents, the Aztec opponents that they were going up against outnumbered Cortez's soldiers. They were far outnumbered. And history shows that after 2 years, they actually conquered the Aztecs, and thus they were able to realize their dream and their goal of having all of this wealth that they would created. And so it is with us when we think about our lives, how we win at life. We win when we take away alternative options when it comes to winning, when it comes to succeeding, progressing, and prospering, whether it's to lose weight or to get married or your dream of owning a business, whatever that looks like, or going back to school, you should not have a plan B. One of the things that Paul says in the book of Hebrews, he says, "This one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind me and reaching forth unto those things which are before me." In other words, I'm not going to go back. That's not a part of the equation of me succeeding. I don't have a plan B. There's only a plan A. And no matter how risky it is, no matter how much you have to sacrifice, if you keep that in mind, you will begin to understand the power of intention. Intentions put you in a position where going back is impossible, and the only option is to go forward, to win, to succeed, to conquer, and to prosper. Imagine raising your children with that kind of mindset. Imagine influencing your grandchildren with that mindset that with God, nothing is impossible. They will set their attention or set their intention to do some great things in their life. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you throw all of your backup plans away, but just be mindful that you don't keep wiggling out of the things that you establish as a goal for your life. When we listen to the stories and read about the stories and hear the stories of Barnes and Cortez's burning the boat, we can begin to understand that life is filled with circumstances or risks that may challenge us. But we can also challenge those circumstances. If we embark on something, it could be a business venture, an academic project, or even, for instance, a coaching program or a mentorship program, or wherever your mindset is towards working with or working through, intentions actually will help you to complete it. Whatever it is, whether it's a book that you're writing, whether it's a program that you're developing, or even music that you're bringing to fore, your intentions of doing it. I love watching award shows. I love the Grammys. I love watching the Olympics, and these are the best of the best in their industries. And all of them intended to be the best, and they ended up being the best. There's so many people that go to California, LA, and they want to become actors and actresses, and they bust a couple of tables as waiters and waitresses. And when they don't get the part, some of them have a plan B, and they end up being massage therapists or doctors or lawyers, when in fact they really wanted to be actors and actresses. In fact, Hollywood is made up of many individuals that studied one thing. They may have studied medicine, or they may have studied science, and they ended up being an actor or actress because they approached the venture, the venture with the similar mindset of Cortez and Barnes. They burned the boat. I'm coming out here, sink or swim, perish or survive. I'm going to be acting. And you too, you have to be willing to burn your boats. If you want to be more than just ordinary, then at some point you're going to have to learn to burn your boats. That means choosing to go all the way in, whatever it is in your doing. Really, really commit to it fully. And when you choose to commit fully to something that is genuinely important to you, then you're already setting yourself up to understanding how challenging life will be. People that live incredible lives, people who are incredibly happy, people who are incredibly successful, people who are genuinely have this positive overall impact on the world, people who live in such a way that others find them naturally fascinating. It is because they have at the core of what they do this one word, intention. They intended to do something. They intended to make a difference. And I'm thinking of the story of Salvation Army, how difficult it was, the founders, William and Catherine Booth. And back in the day, of course, there were the Anglican Church, Methodist churches, and a few other churches. And they decided they want to reach the homeless, the indigent, those that were alcoholics and drug addicts. And they started playing music in the street. And the music to the traditional church sounded worldly. And they put pressure on them. And I'm happy that William Booth and Catherine Booth stayed the course, that their life has made a difference. And today we have the Salvation Army, which is still reaching the indigent, the sick, the homeless, the helpless, just because one man and one woman refused to conform to the conventions of religion. They went beyond the church. They went outside of the church. And instead of inviting individuals to come to church, they went to where the individuals were, and they took the church to the individuals. They lived as individuals, but they died as an institution, and their legacy is still going on. And me as an individual was impacted and blessed by the Salvation Army. Growing up in abject poverty, the Salvation Army was responsible for feeding us, giving us water, and all kinds of services, humanitarian initiative that affected my life. But can you imagine if Mr. William Booth and his wife Catherine Booth had given up because the church didn't approve of what they were doing? It was non-traditional. It was unordinary that ministers would take music to the street and beat the tambourine just to get people's attention. But like I said, I'm a beneficiary of his vision of not giving up because of the pressure or the rejection that they experience. And reading the founder story is so very fascinating. I traveled to London, England, to that site when I was a young girl to their exact site, the first Salvation Army building that they had built, fascinated with their story. And so another generation can potentially be impacted by you and your intentions and bringing your dreams, innovations, and visions to pass. I think that when we have intentions, it makes us unstoppable. And this burning the boat strategy is not just applying, you don't just apply it to one area of your life, you apply it to all areas of your life. And you've got to be bold with your dreams, you got to be bold with your vision, but you also cannot have a plan A and a plan B and a plan C and a plan D and a plan E and keep going through life giving up on your dreams and visions. So burning the boat is not just about intentions, but it's also about commitment. And commitment grows out of intentions. Commitment is what transforms intention into reality. Commitment starts with a vision or a dream or a goal, and then it's the mental energy that you use to convert that intention into action. And you've got to be man and women of actions. You've got to intend that I'm going to do this no matter what happens. It is the intention that gets you out of bed. It is the intention that moves you beyond emotions. It's the intention that helps you to push through when you're betrayed or when you're disappointed. It's your intention that gives you the discipline that you need. It's your intention that gives you the follow through. And it's all about commitment. Commitment enables you just to yield your nerve center over to the area of consent so that you consent and then you follow through. It gives you the focus that you need. It gives you the determination that you need. It's all about commitment. Commitment is the very technology. It's the mental technology that unlocks the door of your imagination. It just opens the door to innovation. You're able to tap into your potential. It allows the force of action to carry you across the threshold of success into the realm of unlimited potentiality and possibility. You're actually living on the edge. You're actually going out on a limb. And that's what commitment does. Commitment allows you to go out on a limb. And that's what burning the boat is all about. It's getting out of your head and then going full out in your life. It's playing full out. It's getting up every day and pushing. It's pushing past the point of giving up. And I always say successful people are just getting started where failures are giving up. You've got to be able to do something every day towards realizing your dream. You've got to stop making promises to yourself that you never make good on. You got to make the commitment, a promise, and you've got to be able to do it. And that means that you can literally live your life without regrets. You're going to go out on a limb. And I think that when I think about the burning the boat philosophy as it relates to intention, it represents a point of no return. It's this psychological commitment where you begin to recognize that you have crossed a line and you're never going to go back. You're never going to look over your shoulders. You will smell the boat burning, but it has nothing to do with your next. You're not going to question whether this decision is going to work out. You're going to commit. And here's the thing about commitment. And here's the thing about intentions. Nobody can intend for you. Nobody can commit for you. This is an intention, and a commitment is something that you do for yourself. That means simply, you cannot give up on your dreams. You cannot give up on your vision. You are going to intend to do it, and you are not going to wiggle out. Why? Because you're a man and you're a woman of integrity. And if you would give up on yourself and your promises, that means you'll give up on everybody else and everything else. And I think this is the secret to success. I believe that once we are dealing with the whole idea of intentions, and we really drop it against the backdrop of personal integrity. Look back on moments in your life where things could have gone better if you had only committed. Think back on those moments, those sink or swim, when you could have said, I'm going to burn the boat, but you didn't. What would your life would have been like now? So, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, when you look at your life and you compare it to where you thought you would be right now, are you happy with the life that you're living? Are you happy with your marriage? Are you happy with your financial state? Are you happy with your social state? Are you happy with your spiritual life? Are you living the life you dreamed of? And if the answer is no, Dr. Trimm, I thought I would be living a better life. I thought at this age, things would be different. Listen to me carefully. Nothing is gained from you regretting that you didn't do something in the past. You cannot go back to the past to have a new beginning, but you could start now to have a new ending. What does that ending look like? And if you have a picture in your mind of what that ending looks like, what it looks like for you in your marriage, what it looks like for you in your relationships, what it looks like for you financially, what it looks like for you in your business, what it looks like for you spiritually, if you can get that image in your mind, and if you say, I intend to, heaven and earth will conspire to get the resources and opportunities and relationships to you that you need. But it's going to take you to burn your boats, to be intentional. Because when you're intentional, no is never final. All things are negotiable. And number 2, you don't have a plan B. It's only a plan A. God bless you. Hey there, thanks for watching and thanks for visiting our YouTube channel. If you've enjoyed this message, take a minute to click the subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell to receive real-time notifications on new video uploads. If this ministry has impacted you in any way and you'd like to partner with us to continue reaching others like you, visit cindytrimmministries.org/give to give right now. Thank you again for watching and supporting our initiatives, and God bless you.
The Cindy Trimm Ministries app just got even better. Dive into the brand new experience right now by updating or downloading the latest version of the app for free in the Apple or Google Play Store. The dynamic home screen keeps you up to date with the latest empowering articles, sermons, live streaming services, and a weekly arrangement of the most inspiring content available anywhere. Watch on-demand messages and begin leading your empowered life group today. Sign up now and receive your how-to handbook and discussion guides for each message. There's more empowerment at every click. Engage in the latest events hosted by Dr. Trimm and find out when she's coming to a city near you. We've even made giving easier than ever before. You can donate now by selecting the Give button inside of the app. After creating your profile, giving will be as simple as putting in an amount and selecting Donate. Download the Cindy Trimm Ministries app now and begin your journey of empowerment with us today.